Good morning, beautiful people of planet Earth and all other interdimensional entities of love, light, truth, holiness, righteousness, mercy, compassion, goodness to we mere mortals stumbling across the swirling blue planet, holding our lines, living our best lives according to our capabilities and experiential awareness. It's Monday, the 8th of December 2025, and the time is 10:41 a.m. It rained quite a lot during the night, which was lovely, lots of storms, so the garden's refreshed, but somehow I feel very tired today. Had a little bit of a breathing backslide, not a bad one, but from 0.6 to 1.2, so I don't know what's triggering all of that, quite frankly. It's annoying, but it's still better than it used to be, so I can't really complain, can I? Yes, but I feel a bit, I don't know how to describe, maybe the shift in the weather from the extreme heat to the cooling rain has done something to my headspace. But anyway, I had a lovely afternoon yesterday. I went to visit my friends Belinda and Bill and dropped off her pendant, and she said it was lovely. She said it was pretty and she was happy with it, so I'm relieved and pleased, because it's a big commitment to make something for someone else, and you know, I got myself so worried that she might not like it, but she was thrilled and she put it on straight away, and I was like, oh, grateful and blessed that I was able to give her something that she will enjoy and wear, and with great happiness. So then I went to KFC for something to eat, and the service was appalling. They all stood, the young people, like zombies at those. And then they changed their staff members. I've been waiting for what felt like forever. I mean, there were a few orders ahead of me, so I didn't think it was unreasonable to wait. That's not what made me cross. But then the person that was serving disappeared from the counter, and then some young girl had my food sitting there. She didn't even know what she was doing, just stared at me. "What did you order?" she said. I told her what I ordered. It happened to be my order. That's when I got annoyed. I thought, they don't even know what they're doing. By the goddess. So I said, "You're all slacking off. It's very bad service. I'm absolutely appalled." And he just looked at me, slack-jawed. No one could take charge. It's unbelievable. Anyway, I probably won't go there again, because I very rarely get KFC now anyway. And on a few occasions I go to that store, the one at Coorparoo, they're just beyond hopeless. I just end up getting so angry that I can't even really enjoy the terrible food I'm eating, which I used to, by the way, enjoy. Maybe it's because I've been eating healthier in recent months that it actually feels so terrible, on top of the fact that the service is really, really awful, by the goddess. But anyway, so I went home feeling grumpy about that, and then I got busy making felting little pom-poms from all the scraps of fleece. I kept a little bag, small little bag like that, of all the scraps of wool that I had to pull off when I was spinning wool that were too wouldn't spin, or I don't know, things that weren't quite right. So I upcycled it all by turning it into little pom-poms. Don't know what I'm going to do with all these little pom-poms, but I'm collecting them. It's a good use of the wools. None of the wool gets wasted that way. So it gets turned and transmuted into something else, and eventually the pom-poms will have to be put to good use, maybe, I don't know, hung off little gift bags, or I don't know what I'll do with them, but I don't have a great many, probably about 20 or 30, and it's a lot of work sitting there, stabbing it with the felting needles and shaping and forming them. Oh, I could probably use the little pom-poms as forms to make little toy animals as well, and shape it and add it all in together. I'm not quite sure how to do that, but I think that's what people do with them usually. Anyway, that time went. I was watching YouTube videos actually, because my TV's playing up. So pissed off about that. But anyway, it's an old TV, what do you expect? So I just sat there, making pom-poms, watching YouTube videos. Before I knew it, it was 1:15 in the morning. I was like, why am I so tired? So took myself off to bed. But I had a very nice day yesterday, apart from the KFC fracas, and it's all good. It was a very hot day yesterday too. But yeah, it was good to actually go out and see my friends too. Haven't been out of the house at all week. So yes, life just keeps unfurling. Well, when I say I haven't been out of the house, I did go dancing on Friday night, but I mean, haven't gone anywhere during the week to do anything, even to go to the shops. So it's been a bit intense. So anyway, let us continue on with reading. I'm just going to move us because I need to be in the gap here with my jewellery bench, because I'm pressing into the desk and it's uncomfortable. Right, here we go. I will continue reading chapter 5, Tweedledum and Tweedledee. They were standing under a tree, each with an arm round the other's neck, and Alice knew which was which in a moment, because one of them had Dum, D-U-M, embroidered on his collar, and the other D, D-double-E. I suppose they've each got Tweedle round at the back of the collar, she said to herself. They stood so still that she quite forgot they were alive, and she was just going round to see if the word Tweedle was written at the back of each collar, when she was startled by a voice coming from the one marked Dum. "If you think we're waxworks," he said, "you ought to pay, you know. Waxworks weren't made to be looked at for nothing, nohow." "Contrariwise," added the one marked D, "if you think we're alive, you ought to speak." "I'm sure I'm very sorry," was all Alice could say, for the words of the old song kept ringing through her head like the ticking of a clock, and she could hardly help saying them out loud. Tweedledum and Tweedledee agreed to have a battle, for Tweedledum said Tweedledee had spoiled his nice new rattle. Just then flew down a monstrous crow, as black as a tar barrel, which frightened both the heroes so they quite forgot the quarrel. "I know what you're thinking about," said Tweedledum, "but it isn't so, nohow." "Contrariwise," continued Tweedledee, If it was so, it might be, and if it were so, it would be. But as it isn't, it ain't. That's logic. I was thinking, Alice said very politely, which is the best way out of this wood. It's getting so dark. Would you tell me, please? But the fat little men only looked at each other and grinned. They looked so exactly like a couple of great schoolboys that Alice couldn't help pointing her finger at Tweedledum and saying, "First boy?" "No, how!" Tweedledum cried out briskly and shut his mouth up again with a snap. "Next boy," said Alice, passing on to Tweedledee, though she felt quite certain he would only shout out, "Contrariwise!" And so he did. "You've begun wrong," cried Tweedledum. "The first thing in a visit is to say, 'How do you do?' and shake hands." And here the two brothers gave each other a hug, and then they held out the two hands that were free to shake hands with her. Alice did not like shaking hands with either of them first, for fear of hurting the other one's feelings. So as the best way out of the difficulty, she took hold of both hands at once. The next moment they were dancing round in a ring. This seemed quite natural, she remembered afterwards. She was not even surprised to hear music playing, and it was done as well as she could make it out, by the branches rubbing one across the other like fiddles and fiddlesticks. But it certainly was funny, Alice said afterwards, when she was telling her sister the history of all this, to find myself singing, 'Here we go round the mulberry bush.' I don't know when I began it, but somehow I felt as if I'd been singing it a long, long time." The other two dancers were fat and very soon out of breath. "4 times round is enough for one dance," Tweedledum panted out, and they left off dancing as suddenly as they had begun. The music stopped at the same moment. Then they let go of Alice's hands and stood looking at her for a minute. There was a rather awkward pause, as Alice didn't know how to begin a conversation with people she had just been dancing with. It would never do to say, "How do you do now?" she said to herself. We seem to have got beyond that somehow. "I hope you're not much tired," she said at last. "No, how? And thank you very much for asking," said Tweedledum. "So much obliged," added Tweedledee. "You like poetry?" Before we continue, here's a photo. The fat little men only looked at each other and grinned. Quite sweet, actually. "Yes, pretty well, some poetry," Alice said doubtfully. "Would you tell me which road leads out of the wood?" "What shall I repeat to her?" said Tweedledee, looking round at Tweedledum with great solemn eyes and not noticing Alice's question. The walrus and the carpenter is the longest, Tweedledum replied, giving his brother an affectionate hug. Before we continue, I just want to show you my beautiful friend Lynn Robertson, my childhood friend. Did a lovely little drawing in the margin of this poem. Sweet little memories popping up everywhere, isn't it gorgeous? Memories like the corners of my mind, misty watercoloured memories of the way we were. Wild children running along the beach at Island Bay and Ohio Bay and Red Rocks. Sometimes we'd get driven or ride our bikes to Lyell Bay too. Where else did we used to go to swim? Lyell Bay was where I nearly drowned. Philip Hodemakers was out with the other boys surfing, and Lynn wasn't far behind them because they were older. They didn't really want to hang around little kid, you know. I kind of get it now, but as a kid it was fucking heartbreaking. Anyway, I was trying to catch up to them and it was actually beyond my capabilities, especially since I didn't have a surfboard. I got dumped by a very, very powerful wave and dragged along the seabed, rolling along the seabed, rolling, looking up through the water. It was very crisp, clear water that day. It was beautiful. The bubbles emanating from my mouth, knowing that I was running out of breath. And yet I had this immense, peaceful calm. Anyway, eventually a hand reached down and grabbed me by the hair and yanked me up and yelled at me, "What do you think you're doing, Tanya?" "Drowning," I said. "Drowning." Obviously I didn't drown. I obviously didn't inhale enough water yet, but by the gods. Lynn actually saved me twice from drowning during our childhood. Oh well, someone out there in the cosmos with a very wry sense of humour, twisted sense of humour, was fucking determined that I live to be an older woman at 60 and a half. It's quite humbling and astonishing at times. But anyway, here we continue. Tweedledee and Tweedledum have given each other an affectionate hug. Tweedledee began instantly. The sun was shining. Here Alice ventured to interrupt him. "If it's very long," she said, as politely as she could, "would you please tell me first which road?" Tweedledee smiled gently and began again. And it is indeed a long poem, people of Earth. The sun was shining on the sea, shining with all his might. He did his very best to make the billows smooth and bright. And this was odd, because it was the middle of the night. That's why my friend Lynn's drawn the sun shining by daylight and the sun shining, all like frowning there, the moon and all the stars. And underneath it, the sea. Ah, that's why she drew it, the moon, frowning. The moon was shining sulkily because she thought the sun had got no business to be there after the day was done. It's very rude of him, she said, to come and spoil the fun. The sea was wet as wet could be. The sands were dry as dry. You could not see a cloud because no cloud was in the sky. No birds were flying overhead. There were no birds to fly. The walrus and the carpenter were walking close at hand. They wept like anything to see such quantities of sand. If this were only cleared away, they said, it would be grand. If 7 maids with 7 mops swept it for half a year, do you suppose, the walrus said, that they could get it clear? I doubt it, said the carpenter, and shed a bitter tear. Oh, oysters, come and walk with us, the walrus did beseech. A pleasant walk, a pleasant talk, along the briny beach. We cannot do with more than 4 to give a hand to each. The eldest oyster looked at him, but never a word he said. The eldest oyster winked his eye and shook his heavy head, meaning to say he did not choose to leave the oyster bed. But 4 young oysters hurried up, all eager for the treat. Their coats were brushed, their faces washed, their shoes were clean and neat. And this was odd, because you know, they hadn't any feet. 4 other oysters followed them, and yet another 4, and thick and fast they came at last, and more and more and more. All hopping through the frothy waves and scrambling to the shore. The walrus and the carpenter walked on a mile or so, and then they rested on a rock, conveniently low, and all the little oysters stood and waited in a row. The time has come, the walrus said, to talk of many things, of shoes and ships and sealing wax, of cabbages and kings, and why the sea is boiling hot, and whether pigs have wings. But wait a bit, the oysters cried, before we have our chat, for some of us are out of breath, and all of us are fat. No hurry, said the carpenter. They thanked him much for that. A loaf of bread, the walrus said, is what we chiefly need. Pepper and vinegar besides are very good indeed. Now, if you're ready, oysters dear, we can begin to feed. But not on us, the oysters cried. turning a little blue. After such kindness, that would be a dismal thing to do. The night is fine, the walrus said. Do you admire the view? It was so kind of you to come, and you are very nice. The carpenter said nothing but, cut us another slice. I wish you were not quite so deaf. I've had to ask you twice. It seems a shame, the walrus said, to play them such a trick, after we've brought them out so far and made them trot so quick. The carpenter said nothing, but the butter's spread too thick. Oh dear goddess, my mother used to do that too. I hate thick butter on bread. I weep for you, the walrus said. I deeply sympathize. With sobs and tears he sorted out those of the largest size, holding his pocket handkerchief before his streaming eyes. Oh, oysters, said the carpenter, you've had a pleasant run. Shall we be trotting home again? But answer came there none, and this was scarcely odd, because they'd eaten every one. I like the walrus best, said Alice, because he was a little sorry for the poor oysters. He ate more than the carpenter, though, said Tweedledee. You see, he held his handkerchief in front so that the carpenter couldn't count how many he took, contrariwise. That was mean, Alice said indignantly. Then I like the carpenter best, if he didn't eat so many as the walrus. But he ate as many as he could get, said Tweedledum. This was a puzzler. After a pause, Alice began. Well, they were both very unpleasant characters. Here she checked herself in some alarm at hearing something that sounded to her like the puffing of a large steam engine in the wood near them, though she feared it was more likely to be a wild beast. Are there any lions or tigers about here? She asked timidly. It's only the Red King snoring, said Tweedledee. Come and look at him, the brothers cried, and they each took one of Alice's hands and led her up to where the king was sleeping. Isn't he a lovely sight? Said Tweedledum. Alice couldn't say honestly that he was. He had a tall red nightcap on with a tassel, and he was lying crumpled up into a sort of untidy heap and snoring loud, fit to snore his head off, as Tweedledum remarked. I'm afraid he'll catch cold with lying on the damp grass, said Alice, who was a very thoughtful little girl. He's dreaming now, said Tweedledee. And what do you think he's dreaming about? Alice said, nobody can guess that. Why, about you, Tweedledee exclaimed, clapping his hands triumphantly. And if he left off dreaming about you, where do you suppose you'd be? Where I am now, of course, said Alice. Not you, Tweedledee retorted. contemptuously, you'd be nowhere. Why? You're only a sort of thing in his dream. Sounds like my love life, doesn't it? We mustn't think about that, though. They can keep dreaming, and Mama T can keep existing in nowhere land and no man's land, and stay free in another paradigm, and live my best life. And ultimately, I am the penultimate psychedelic dreamer myself. So, you don't live in your world, you live in mine. We're all just prisoners here of our own ultimate becoming. But what a dastardly a drama you weave when you practice to deceive. Wannabe lovers of the Tanya. C'est la vie, babies. Do I look bothered? Sometimes I'm bothered. Others couldn't give a flying fuck or the proverbial rat's ass. But that depends on, whether I'm feeling soul nourished and revivified in any given moment in the space-time continuum. And I have people who do love me. It's very strange at times how greatly I am loved. Some of the people who love me are quite unusual too. But I don't, I'm not freaked out by that, because I myself am rather unusual. So it is what it is, people. Life goes on and it's beautiful, and I think we're going to get more rain today. Grey, murky clouds. I wanted to put the birdie boys out, but it's raining, boys. They're both sleeping. Cute. If that there king was to wake at a Tweedledum, you'd go out just like a candle. I shouldn't, Alice exclaimed indignantly. Besides, if I'm only a sort of thing in his dream, what are you, I would like to know? Ditto, said Tweedledum. Ditto, ditto, cried Tweedledee. We're all just part of some magnificent dream, aren't we? What happens when the dreamer wakes up? Do we begin a new dream? Is it a parallel reality? Is it a distortion of CERN smashing the particles together? Is it a dimensional sideways flip? Is it a time slip? Is it a blip in the unfurling cosmos, twirling in infinity? Is the earth round or is it flat? And if it's flat, what can we do about that? Why, nothing, of course. Are we awake or asleep? Are we asleep or awake? Wake up, number 37. Mothman prophecies. I could riff like this for hours, people of Earth. Or I could, if I weren't already feeling a bit tired this morning for some reason. I guess I've been busy all last week, and the mama T crashes and burns when she overdoes things. Nervous system collapses happen. I don't know why I'm like this, but, well, I kind of do. It's annoying though. Do you know what I could have achieved if I didn't have nervous system collapses? Do you know who I could have been? Do you know what amazing, wondrous things I could have co-created with the gods? Well, I did, didn't I? I did last week co-create with the gods. I'm going to make some more of those. I really like them, like it. It's a fair bit of bloody work, smashing with a hammer and soldering, making the bale and soldering it and soldering the little jump rings, but it's sweet. I've got more things I could be making too. I managed to get this little box thing I'm trying to make properly. It was hard too because I managed to get it at a perfect 90-degree angle yesterday. Can you see it? 90 fucking degrees. Or close enough anyway. So I can't do soldering when my birdies are in here because of fumes, and I don't want to risk, killing them or poisoning them in any way or affecting their health. So, but I've got to solder the little bits that broke off. Once I gain mastery in making little boxes like this, if I gain mastery, I could make little box clasps, couldn't I? Let's not get too ahead of myself, psychedelic dreamer. But it's possible with practice and enough silver. I need more money, people of Earth. I need more money, but I always need more money. Struggle Street. But silver costs a lot these days. It's gone up a lot, and the tools cost a lot. So maybe I'm beating my head against a brick wall. Maybe I should just go, everything's in. Calm the fuck down. I'm waiting for my new sewing machine to arrive. It's driving me mad. It's taken a week. Hopefully it arrives tomorrow so I can make those little petticoats. I spent all that money so I can make maybe 2 petticoats. But it's okay because I'll have it here and I'll be able to use it whenever I need to repair something or make some small project. I've got no ambitions to become a very proficient sewer and do grand things. No ambitions at all, but you never know. I might find that I enjoy it and I might start making garments at some stage. Psychedelic dreamer dreams. But I just got a bee in my bonnet because my other little machine was defunct, and it upset me so much because it was bought for me by a dear friend. And the bloody thing's kaput already and I barely used it. That upsets me. Wasting money and resources on things that don't bloody work. Kind of had a breakdown over it, actually, to be fair. I think that's what's wrong with me, why I'm sort of a bit verklempt. It's like things don't work out, I get terribly upset because you just two steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. It's like doing some weird macabre dance macabre. waltz through time, and it's like, where am I going with all of this? Nowhere fast, people of Earth. Nowhere fast. But anyway, that's negative programming, and I'm going to shuck that off because I've made some very nice things in the past week. There's lovely little Matryoshka earrings I revamped so that can be worn again, and even attach the little baby dolls to it. Crazy. And you know, working at this. I'm a bit worried about this though, because if I can solder that together and solder it down, there's not enough room to push over the bezel around the stone. So I've been worrying about that all morning. Worry, anxiety, and you know what? I'll find a way to push it over, people of Earth. I'll find a way. So what am I worrying about? Nothing, actually. It's all extraordinary extraordinary waste of energy poured into nonsensical, worrisome things. But there's other days when I'm supercharged, as if the gods themselves have kicked me up my own tuchus and shaken me out, thrown me back into the fray, and that's when the magic happens, like this lovely piece. I was so full of confidence when I made that. It's like, hello, an albino, a mosquito, a librito. Come as you are, I come as a friend, come as I hoped you would be. Hurry up, take your time, the choice is yours, don't be late. Yes, Mama T's in a weird mood state today, I can tell. I have to whistle her home. Get back on the program, girlfriend. We're reading a lovely story to the people of Earth on your own YouTube channel. Are you going to sabotage that too? Like you sabotage everything you do, Tanya Aarons? Yes, I will. I will do what I want, whatever. Because I'm alive against all the odds, and I can. Defiance. Right. Let's continue. So Tweedledum and Tweedledee have both shrieked out ditto when she asks them, quite rightly, if she's only a thing in the Red King's dream, then what are they? He shouted this so loud that Alice couldn't help saying, hush, you'll be waking him, I'm afraid, if you make so much noise. Well, it's no use you're talking about waking him, said Tweedledum, when you're only one of the things in his dream. You know very well you're not real. Excuse me, I have to pinch myself. I'm real. I am authentic. I am that I am becoming. I am real, said Alice, and began to cry. Physically, we're real anyway in this weird delusion, confusion, collusion, dissolution, diffusion, declension, dissension, acclimating to the climate, interferences. It's probably why I'm in a bit of a dark mood. I was listening to Dane Wigginton's audio about the radiation fog and all the weird things that they're doing to our planet, they being the anti-humanist maniacs that are running this existence. By the gods, it's enough to make you go blah. Things that make you go blah, things that make you scream. We just all go along with it, don't we? Passively acquiescent to our own obliteration here on planet Earth. Well, Mama T calls down the gods of nature, the gods of glory, the gods of benevolence to heal us all and heal our planet, however it works. That too could be cataclysmic if they really got going with it though. But it's all a symptom of our time, our post-Covidian epoch. And what is the cure? Laugh in the face of madness and love each other and be kind to each other. Support each other to be their best versions of themselves and awaken them and crack open their carapaced shells so they can expose their emanating light and burgeoning creativity, people of Earth. Blessed be. Shine bright like diamonds, no matter what, no matter who. Right, we carry on. Mama T and her weird philosophies. It's how I ground myself, people of Earth. Have you noticed? It's how I keep myself going. If it weren't for that, I really wouldn't be real at all. I'd just be a vague whisper in someone else's nightmare. Right. I am real, said Alice and began to cry. You won't make yourself a bit realer by crying, Tweedledee remarked. There's nothing to cry about. If I wasn't real, Alice said, half laughing through her tears. It all seemed so ridiculous. I shouldn't be able to cry. I hope you don't suppose those are real tears, Tweedledum interrupted her in a tone of great contempt. It's how I was treated by my family of origin. If I cried, which was often, I was treated with utter derision and deemed weak. Ironic, given I was more powerful than all of them, because I had the human decency to stand up and say no. It cost me my rightful inheritance, 4 houses, wealth creation, peace, serenity, truest greatest loves in the form of, spousal or connubial partners, but it was still fucking worth it, people of Earth. The ability to say no, hell no, and how dare you, and carry on regardless. Never letting the bastards grind us down. I survived all of it. All of it. I'm still surviving it, actually, in a weird kind of way. Don't know how. Can't explain it at all. It really is nonsensical. But if you wish to cry, people of Earth, cry. Cry as a defiance. Let the tears wash you clean, purify you, strengthen you to begin again a new day, for a day when there will be no more tears, because you will have rebuilt yourself, and nothing and no one can ever bring you down to their basest, lowest denomination of all. It's they, the abusers, who really are not real and nothing. Something to think about, isn't it? The kinds of people that thought they could destroy us. And what have they really got out of it? No thing. A dying planet. It's absurdist beyond belief. Completely absurd. I know they're talking nonsense, Alice thought to herself, and it's foolish to cry about it. So she brushed away her tears and went on as cheerfully as she could. At any rate, I'd better be getting out of the wood, for really it's coming on very dark. Do you think it's going to rain? Tweedledum spread a large umbrella over himself and his brother and looked up into it. No, I don't think it is, he said. At least, not under here. Nohow. But it may rain outside. It may, if it chooses, said Tweedledee. We've no objection, contrariwise. Selfish things, thought Alice, and she was just going to say good night and leave them, when Tweedledum sprang out from under the umbrella and seized her by the wrist. Do you see that? He said, in a voice choking with passion, and his eyes grew large and yellow all in a moment, as he pointed with a trembling finger at a small white thing lying under the tree. It's only a rattle, Alice said, after a careful examination of the small white thing. Not a rattlesnake, you know, she added hastily, thinking that he was frightened. Only an old rattle, quite old and broken. I knew it was, cried Tweedledum, beginning to stamp about wildly and tear his hair. It's spoilt, of course. Here he looked at Tweedledee, who immediately sat on the ground and tried to hide himself under the umbrella. Alice laid her hand upon his arm and said in a soothing tone, You needn't be so angry about an old rattle. But it isn't old, Tweedledum cried in a greater fury than ever. It's new, I tell you. I bought it yesterday. My nice new rattle. And his voice rose to a perfect scream. All this time, Tweedledee was trying his best to fold up the umbrella with himself in it, which was such an extraordinary thing to do that it took off Alice's attention from the angry brother. But he couldn't quite succeed, and it ended in his rolling over, bundled up in the umbrella, with only his head out, and there he lay, opening and shutting his mouth and his large eyes, looking more like a fish than anything else, Alice thought. Of course, you agree to have a battle, Tweedledum said in a calmer tone. I suppose so, the other sulkily replied, as he crawled out of the umbrella. Only she must help us to dress up, you know. So the two brothers went off hand in hand into the wood and returned in a minute with their arms full of things such as bolsters, blankets, hearth rugs, tablecloths, dish covers, and coal scuttles. I hope you're a good hand at pinning and tying strings, Tweedledum remarked. Every one of these things has got to go on, somehow or other. Alice said afterwards she had never seen such a fuss made about anything in all her life, the way those two bustled about, and the quantity of things they put on, and the trouble they gave her in tying strings and fastening buttons. Really, they'll be more like bundles of old clothes than anything else by the time they're ready, she said to herself, as she arranged a bolster round the neck of Tweedledee to keep his head from being cut off, as he said. You know, he added very gravely, it's one of the most serious things that can possibly happen to one in a battle, to get one's head cut off. Alice laughed loud, but she managed to turn it into a cough for fear of hurting his feelings. Do I look very pale? Said Tweedledum, coming up to have his helmet tied on. He called it a helmet, though it certainly looked much more like a saucepan. Well, yes, a little, Alice replied gently. I'm very brave, generally, he went on, in a loud voice. Only today I happen to have a headache. And I've got toothache, said Tweedledee, who had overheard the remark. I'm far worse than you. And then you'd better not fight today, said Alice, thinking it a good opportunity to make peace. We must have a bit of a fight, but I don't care about going on long, said Tweedledum. What's the time now? Tweedledee looked at his watch and said, 4:30. Let's fight till 6, and then have dinner, said Tweedledum. Very well, the other said, rather sadly. And she can watch us. Only you'd better not come very close, he added. I generally hit everything I can see when I get really excited. And I hit everything within reach, cried Tweedledum, whether I can see it or not. Alice laughed. You must hit the trees pretty often, I should think, she said. Tweedledum looked round him with a satisfied smile. I don't suppose, he said, there'll be a tree left standing for ever so far round by the time we've finished. And all about a rattle, said Alice, still hoping to make them little ashamed of fighting for such a trifle. I shouldn't have minded it so much, said Tweedledum, if it hadn't been a new one. I wish the monstrous crow would come, thought Alice. There's only one sword, you know, Tweedledum said to his brother, but you can have the umbrella. It's quite as sharp, only we must begin quick. It's getting as dark as it can. And darker, said Tweedledee. It was getting dark so suddenly that Alice thought there must be a thunderstorm coming on. Synchronicity, people of Earth. What a thick black cloud that is, she said, and how fast it comes. Why, I do believe it's got wings. It's the crow, Tweedledum cried in a shrill voice of alarm, and the two brothers took to their heels and were out of sight in a moment. Alice ran a little way into the wood and stopped under a large tree. It can never get me here, she thought. It's far too large to squeeze itself in among the trees. But I wish it wouldn't flap its wings so. It makes quite a hurricane in the wood. There's somebody's shawl being blown away. And we shall end here and come back tomorrow for chapter 5, which is titled Wool and Water. So, hopefully I'll be a little bit less exhausted tomorrow, and my mood will have arisen and shone like an illuminated manuscript, scribed by the wisest of all magicians, ennobled and blessed by the gods and the goddesses, the Fae and the Holy One in all manifestations. Speaking of which, here comes Bibi the turkey. Hello, Bibi. How are you? Disappointed there's no food, Mummy. He hopped straight back down. But he comes up to check on me, have you noticed? Check on the food situation. Give me the feathery eyeball. It's all very sweet. Anyway, bye for now. Gods and Goddess bless. It's Hanukkah on Sunday evening of the 14th of December, but I'm prepared. I've bought my little candles and I'll have to polish up my Hanukkah, my menorah. Might even consider making some sufganiyot, donuts with jam. I'll have to buy some strawberry jam though. And I might have to buy some yeast too. It's all a lot of work and it's hot. And I'm old and I live alone, so why bother really? Why bother maintaining traditions when you're all alone? It's all a bit mad, quite frankly. So, you know, but at the very least I'll light the candles, because light is symbolic of driving out the depression and oppression and suppression and compression and submission and desecration of our temples, both external and internal. Just lighten up, people of Earth. Keep shining our lights for as long as we live. Blessed be my beautiful ones. Have a beautiful day wherever you are in the space-time continuum, here on planet Earth or wherever my video messages get blasted out into the cosmos. You don't know who's listening, who's watching, who has our back, our front and our sides, and who's coming to strengthen and ennoble us in these dark times. But it's up to us to save ourselves, people of Earth. Save ourselves, but when the angels come and stand behind us and wrap their wings around us and give us extra mana, power, strength, healing, unconditional, universal love. It's a wondrous, amazing, magical thing, holy thing, a holy convocation. It is what it is, people of Earth. Blessed be. Bye for now.